Well, I'm always excited to talk about theater, and this is going to be a great conversation. Looking forward to the Ghostlight Theatre and their production of Once. It's a really cool musical that everybody's going to want to come and see, and I think you'll definitely want to see it after you have hear this conversation with these guys. I've got Spencer and I've got Burke. Spencer is the director of the show, and Burke is not only the music director, but you also have a special role within the show, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But Spencer, tell me a little bit about Once and what it's all about, because I think it's really cool. I've seen it in other places before, kind of familiar with it. So tell me, what is the story?
Yeah, it's a special show to me too. It was the first show I ever saw on Broadway, and I've seen 3 or 4 productions of it since, and partly because I loved the movie so much, and so I've kind of been following it around my whole career. And then when our artistic director Paul Mao mentioned that they were thinking of it for next year, I kind of quickly was like, oh, I would love to work on that show. So I'm so glad that such a special show's here. It's largely kind of the concept is guy meets girl. They never have names. It's one of those sort of parable kind of shows
Hmm.
on the streets of Dublin. And she sort of creatively resuscitates him in a lot of ways. She sort of brings him back to life at a low point, and he helps her sort of face some of the responsibilities that she's dealing with too. So it's about 2 people kind of connecting and impacting each other through music, and how music can really not just save your life, which I think a lot of shows talk about that, but it can also sort of help you to find where you belong and what your right path is.
Yeah. And I'm sure you wanted to do this show not only because, like you said, you've got some connection to it being a
Mm-hmm.
powerful show you've really connected with, but you also when you do a show like this, you also need to know if you've got the people within the community to be able to do this type of thing, and you've got some great people in this show, right?
Yeah, yeah. Even in we're really lucky because even in Chicago, where I'm based, it's hard to find actor musicians and people who can swap out things and use all parts of their brain basically. So we got really lucky with finding. We've had Dan Maxon and Megan Pelkey on board as the guy and girl for several months as kind of part of the initial sort of pitch. Um,
Mhm.
and they're a couple of many years as well, so it adds that sort of novelty of the romantic relationship between them
Sure.
as well. Um, and yeah, the rest of the ensemble, we have 14 actor musicians. Some people do a little bit more acting than playing. Some people do a little bit more playing than acting, but no one does just one or the other. There's always at least some movement or some transitional elements where they take the stage and have a solo, or um, have a few lines as the MC of a karaoke bar or something like that. So it's been great to have such a strong and committed company bringing this show to life.
Yeah, and let's talk with Burke, because as the music director, this also is an interesting thing to be a part of as well, and unique because not every most musicals, when you are the music director, you handle the orchestra and you kind of go through some stuff with the singers, and this is a little different because you're working with these actors that are also musicians. Is that a challenge, or does it make it more fun and more interesting?
It's one of the things that drew me to the show when Paul first approached me about being the music director or helping out with this show. One of the things I was really excited about was the idea that first of all, it's kind of a unique instrumentation, right? It's mostly guitars and mandolins, it's lots of strings, which is sort of my specialty, and then the idea that not only are the musicians on the stage as opposed to underneath the pit or pushed off to the side, so they're kind of front and center, but then it also allowed me as the orchestra director at St. Joe to include my students in it. And we have several students from the high school that are a part of the show and actually kind of rocking it. They're doing a great job and really enjoying it. So it's been a huge bonus, and I'm really just loving it.
That's really great. And from what I knew as we were before we even had this conversation, I knew that during the rehearsal process, sort of the plans changed a little bit as far as your job description kind of modified from being not only the music director but also the bank manager. Is that correct?
Yeah, one of the tricky things was, so, you know, as a music director, what I'm used to is waving my arms in front of people so they can see me, and that's not something that happens on this show. There's no conductor, right? So I was sort of talking to Spencer about how can I be on stage, helping out some of those musicians, helping with cues and things like this. And there was just this role that was available, and it kind of gets me more in the middle of it, and I'm right in there with the musicians. So it was kind of it was a good solution, and it's really pushed me personally as far as, like, you know, being an actor, which is I usually am more comfortable with my back to the stage, you know, turning around and looking at the audience is a unique and fun experience for me.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So you're not usually a musician that goes and does a bunch of stuff on stage. You're, like you said, you're more of the behind the scenes. So that's really
Right.
fun though, to be able to do that. And again, Spencer, another unique sort of spin to this, because also as the director too, you're coordinating all of that as well, working with the music director and saying, okay, well, now they're going to be sort of on the stage and doing this and working in tandem with
Right.
all the actors and stuff that you have going on. So that adds another fun, interesting challenge, right?
Yeah, there's no real separation between the two. And maybe that's part of it, is I've always been sort of drawn to these kind of shows that are less musical and more a play with music. And so finding ways to weave that element into the show as opposed to making these specific, you know, separated musical moments,
Mhm.
and making and having these actor musicians, and suddenly they're grabbing a guitar and they're playing in this number, or suddenly they're moving a chair as well, you know, helping get us to the next scene. It's been a blast, and I'm so glad Burke has you know, stepped up to be that bank manager. He's perfect for the part, and he actually has a song that is supposed to be kind of an embarrassing, like a bad song that we're having to work right now to make it. It's right now it's too good, so we're right now working to make it not sound so good.
Oh no, that's so fun, and to be able to do that, and I love that, because be able to have the scene changes, and too the
Yeah.
actors doing a lot of that stuff. You're totally right. It's that play with some music. And so this show is going to open this weekend. So you guys are ready for it? You guys been in preparation? How long you guys been working on this show?
I think what, 5-6 weeks, I think this is week 6. So yeah, it's been a lot of rehearsals, and just a lot of like, as I said, there's 14 of us, and that's you know, that's a lot of schedules to manage, and not to mention designers and such. And so I think right now we're really confident in what we've put on, and it's in such a lovely and sort of delicate and beautiful place that I can't wait to bring in some Ghostlight audiences, and be able to rock out with them, get their laughs, get their cries. I think that kind of back and forth with the audience, because it's also a show that isn't afraid to break the fourth wall. Someone will say, what a coincidence, I have a vacuum that needs fixing, and someone from the backstage will wheel out a vacuum right there for them. It's that kind of we're not pretending that this isn't a play. So
Sure.
having people to bounce off of and appreciate that with us, and widen our world a little bit. I think we're really excited to jump into that.
That's so fun. And from what I hear, it's, so as you mentioned, it's in Dublin, so it's a
Yes.
pub, right? The pub is going to be part of it, as one of the set pieces, I'm sure.
Yeah, as soon as people enter, they're listening to music. We're playing pre-show songs, you know, covers of Irish songs, American songs, you know, trying to get the crowd hyped, and also just largely these these actors to sort of play for themselves and entertain each other in a fun way. Whoever wants to, step in and add a violin to that song, or a cello, or a guitar. Yeah, and as with previous productions, we also have a bar on stage. So before the show and after the show, they'll be wheeling in a bar that should have, I believe the plan is to have some mini kegs on mounted onto the bar that will have a tap and dispense the alcohol. So, or depending on the night, you could also have a root beer tap, which I love root beer. So I love that that's an option too. So that'll be kind of a fun thing for audiences to be able to get on stage. They might be, played at while they're while they're getting their drink. So it's a nice way to further break down that sort of separation between audience and actor.
We're talking about the Ghostlight Theater's production of Once that is opening this weekend, and you're running 2 weekends of this, right?
Correct. Yeah, we go August 10th to the 20th. Thursday through Sunday.
We've got Spencer, who's the director, as well as Burke Loki, who's the music director. And this has been, from what it sounds like, a really fun experience for you guys. And what I love about even a lot of the performances at the Ghostlight, since it is a smaller sort of black box theater, you really think about shows and things that are more immersive. And really, when the audience walks into the building, not just the getting ready to turn the lights down, they're in they're having this experience as soon as they walk through the door. I love that.
Yeah, there's something about music, especially more than even it can transcend language in a lot of ways. So I think as soon as people enter, they're going to be hearing sounds that might bring them back, might be new sounds to them, but will in some ways, connect. You might connect with an actor or a part or an audience member that you didn't think you would. And I love how music can do that for folks. It can sort of be a universal, a bridge, and you can see what music, just even in the context of the play, you can see what music can do for a life and finding your path.
And this show really, it seems like kind of perfect for the Ghostlight Theater, the way everything's so intimate and that you're right there with the audience. Like you're really sharing the music and the story with them.
Right. And Burke, like you said earlier, you were talking about some of your students being able to be a part of that. What's that experience been like for not only you, but also them to be able to be a part of something like this?
I think I'm very happy and excited for them because I think it's a great opportunity for them to play their instruments in an entirely new setting. Like as opposed to playing with a large group, whether it's an orchestra or whatever, now they're part of a cast and it's a whole different feeling. And the students are learning to kind of improvise and cover each other. And it's just been fun for me to get to know another side of them,
Yeah. Yeah, it really heightens their not only their skill, because they now have to kind of turn everything on, their ears and their eyes and their excitement and all that stuff, because they're not only watching the music director, but they're also now paying attention to the singers and what they're doing, and then paying attention to other things that are going on in the scene. So it's all senses are being used for sure, and it's a different experience for them. So that's really cool.
Right, and I'm almost positive, I can guarantee that they've never danced with their violin and cello while they're playing it before. So and I think that's been fun and challenging for them.
Yeah. Did any of the kids have to? Because if it's being in Dublin, they had to do the Irish accent. Do they have to speak the parts as well?
Well, yeah, we've all been working on our accent together, and I think we kind of play off each other, and everybody's kind of found their own little, way to make it sound as authentic as we can. Yeah.
About half the cast is also their roles are Czech. They're immigrants from Czechoslovakia, so which is a slightly trickier, just a less iconic accent. So it's been fun to sort of measure that out. And I mean, some of the characters are Czech immigrants doing impressions of Irish accents. Yeah. So it's really kind of a snake eating its tail sometimes. So it's been a lot of fun to to Burke's point, it's been great to see the high schoolers sort of integrate and become part of this community. I can see Wes Schenker, who plays Billy, was palling around with Braden, who plays the cello in our show. So it's been great. It's a show about forming community. It's kind of like theater that way. The show sort of mimics that way that artists come together to make this project. In this case, record an album, and form that family. And then even when you separate, when that project is over, this community doesn't fade away. There's still those connections to each other. So I have a feeling it'll be like that with the high schoolers as well.
I love that. Yeah, memorable experiences for sure, and mentorship and all that too. How do you, as a director, with those two very challenging accents? I know I try to do accents and all kinds of different things. Those are probably the two most challenging. What do you tell them? Like, do you tell them to watch certain stuff on YouTube? What do you do to have them kind of try their best at getting the accent?
Yeah, I wish I was a more technical person when it came to accents. I know some people are like, place your tongue on this part of your, and I'm not.
I like coaches and stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah, I'm much more in the realm of directing them to work, or just having them, you can feed it through certain sites and just and you just Burke, I think we were talking about this, that like there's no 100% mastery, even like the highest paid actors. You don't just become fluent in that accent all day after working on it. So it just becomes drilling. One of the things I sent them to for the Irish accent was another movie by the creators of Once, a movie called Sing Street, that takes place in like 80s Dublin, and it's about music making and has a sort of similar scrappy feel to it. So that was just a smorgasbord of accents for them to sort of leech onto.
Yeah, another added challenge, but we would definitely want to send people to the Ghostlight to come and see these amazing actors and musicians and people just having a lot of fun in the community. When can we come and see this? I know it opens this weekend, but what are the show dates and everything we need to know?
Yeah, it's August 10th to the 20th. That's Thursday through Sunday. The evening shows, so Thursday through Saturday, are at 7:30, and the Sunday shows are at 3:00. You can get tickets at ghostlightbh.com. BH is Benton Harbor, so ghostlightbh.com. We also have VIP tables in the front if you want to really be in the action of the show. And as we said, there's a pre-show with plenty of music, and you can buy drinks on stage. So we'd love to have you early. We'd love to have you stay late, as much as you can be there.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's right there in the Arts District at Benton Harbor, and you couldn't do it without great sponsors as well. Do want to mention those: Nobo Provisioning Center, as well as CIA Combined Insurance Agencies, as well as Ronnie and Tom Buckley. They're season sponsors for the Ghostlight, the Cheese Lady in St. Joe, and the Inn at Harbor Shores. But you do not want to miss this amazing performance of Once, the musical at the Ghostlight. But Spencer and Burke, thank you guys so much for all the hard work that you guys have been putting in, and it sounds like it's going to certainly show off when you have this wonderful performance this coming weekend. But thank you guys for taking some time to chat with me about it.
So glad